Final Generation Ministry here. Welcome to another episode of Friday Testimony, in where we have guests and viewers like yourself have an opportunity to share your testimony of what God has done in your life. We hope you are blessed with this new testimony.
This is a topic here, something that is very hard for me to discuss, to share with you, but I feel I have to share it because maybe somebody has gone through something like that, or even worse, because I've heard people go through some real terrible things with family who didn't know better because they're foolish, they're ignorant, and they know better, and hurt them. People accept Jesus as a savior and went through a lot. I've heard sort of people, young girl was kicked out of the house and beaten and all that because she accepted Jesus as a savior. People have gone through a lot of stuff. So what I'm sharing with you is nothing compared with that. Nothing really. But it's something that I had to learn to forgive. I grapple with it a lot because sometimes when someone hurts you, it's hard to forgive them. But Jesus said that if we don't forgive others, that He will not forgive us. When I read that scripture, it really touches my heart. Jesus said if we do not forgive others, He won't forgive us. And we shall not enter His kingdom. He's not saying we may not enter, He said we shall not. So if we don't forgive others, He said we shall not enter His kingdom. And I realized, don't think I just got to this journey where I'm still on the journey. I'm not there yet. I'm still on the journey. So don't think I'm good to go. No, I'm not. But by His grace, I keep with Him, and I keep, praying and seeking Him daily by His word and constantly talking to Him like I talk to a friend. And so I know He'll bring me to that place. But when I was in Trinidad at that time, when I got involved with my husband, I was 19, as I said, and 19 years old, and he was 39, so he's 20 years older than me. And he was very educated. As a young girl, I fell for that he's educated and smart, and had people look up to him and stuff like that. And imagine and this is an intimate thing I'm sharing with you, that he would love a foolish young woman like me. I felt good. I'll be honest with you, I felt good. Imagine he loves me. He leave all these other people, women who had education like him and had good jobs like him, and he leave them for me. I am special, boy. That's what I thought. I said, boy, you are special. But at the time there, when I was back home, my family members, that's something I had to grapple with for a while. I'll tell you that. It was not easy to accept it. Because my parents, my mother, I found out, and my mother, I didn't know, I just know my aunt came one day when I was in the room with my sister-in-law, my oldest brother's wife, and she threw something on my head and in my eyes. So it went into my eyes. But I didn't know. It just shocked me like a trauma, because in a house and somebody come and throw something and you kind of, you're not yourself. So I didn't know until, to tell you the truth, I didn't know until a couple months ago, all these years, by talking to my sister-in-law. I guess I didn't want to talk about it, but my sister-in-law told me that my mother, and because I couldn't remember what was there, I know my sister-in-law was there because it was her house, and I know my aunt came and threw something on my head, some liquid. But I didn't know who was all there. But she told me, because it was her home, that my mother was there. I vaguely remember that my sister was there too, yes. But I guess I'm shocked. And this is your own family, and you don't expect your family to hurt you. You expect somebody out there to come and hurt you, but not your own family. Even though they disagree with you or the decision you make, you don't expect them to physically hurt you. But I realized why they physically hurt me, because they went to some spiritual, this woman is called it, back home they call it Obia, but it's spiritualism, it's the same thing. Up here they have the same in North America. The people that they go to that read palms and do this and do that. It's the same thing, just a different name, but it's all spiritualism. And they figuring if that he had some hold over me that I will go with him. So they figure they will go to this woman, and whatever my aunt mix up, whatever they mix up, whatever chemical, I don't know what they do, whatever mix up, they throw it on me. And it burned my head. Up to this day I have a scar in front of my head. I have to wear a wig or I have to wear a band. And it's not a problem now. I'll be honest with you, it was a problem when I was younger, in my 20s. It used to bother me when I was 20, 21, right up to about 30, it used to bother me because I was working. And I had to go to work. As I told you, I got a job at Bear when I came to Canada. And I had to go to work, and I always, every morning, it was a stress for me because I had to make sure that the front of my head is covered. And at that time, I had no wig. My family member, my daughter bought me wigs after, that's years after, maybe in my 40s, or early 50s. But at that young age, I didn't have it. So I remember every time I go into work, it was a real stressor for me because I had to make sure I had the front of the head. If it was the back, maybe I could hide the back, but it was the front, right here, right in front here. So I used to wear a band-aid all the time, and people used to look at me wondering, why are you wearing this band-aid? But I couldn't tell them why. That's not their business either, and I didn't want to tell them why. So for years I wore the band-aid just to cover the front. So I always wear band-aid, all the time, band-aid at work. But I'm here to give you good news too. After years, I was in my 40s, so what, most of my life I did, it could happen when I was 19 years old. I went to the US, and I was there until I'm 26, so I had to go to, wear the band-aid. Came to Canada, went to work, wear the band-aid every day. And I'm grateful because after a while, my daughter was able to buy me. She was growing up because at that time she was a kid, so she couldn't do anything for me, but she grew up. She was able to buy me some wigs, and so I was able to wear it and stuff like that. So I was able to, it made life much easier for me because it's always a problem. And even I always used to actually didn't want people to see me, because if somebody come into a room, my own children, my son would come into the room, my daughter, I would put a band-aid, I would put a cover it quickly, because I didn't want to see it. And I don't know why I was so foolish, because I shouldn't feel that way. I didn't do anything to myself, but that's how human nature is. Because I guess I didn't want to discuss it and go up to say why it happened and all, because I had to explain why it happened and who did it. So I used to do, even to this point, if I don't have something covering my head, I would go and get something. If I have to go to the door, somebody ring the doorbell, I will run and get it, because I don't want to go out there and they see me there, because they might say, what happened, and I don't want to go through that thing to tell. So anyhow, I am in a better place now, and family member had offered me to go and get a surgery and do hair implant or something, but I told my family members no. I said, I have gone through since I'm 20. When you're younger is when you care about these things. And I was able to go with God's power with me. I was able to wear it from the age of 20 until this. I said, why now should I worry to spend money? Guess if give that to somebody in need. Take that money and help someone in need. This will be just vanity now. To me, I think it's only vanity. Then it would have been different, something that you need because you have no hair and front. But now to do it, why would I bother with that now? I went through all this stuff, being able to go to work every day and concerned about that, so why would I worry it now? So I told them, no family member. I appreciate it, but I don't want it. But I think that the biggest part of it is not even the scar. It's the fact that up to this day, they have never told me they were sorry for that. In fact, I think what they did was right. Because somebody said to me, actually, the only reason why they haven't told you into family, because they think they think that they were right. They still think they're right to do what they did. So one of the most painful things is that it's your own family member. A stranger on the road meet you and do that. I know people get burned, the whole face got burned. People come and throw things. Acid, even in Toronto here by the TTC, somebody came and threw acid on somebody's face or something. It's hurtful, but it's somebody you don't know. But I think the most painful part of it is your own family member. And that they can do that. And yes, they're ignorant at the time and whatever they believe in the spiritualism or whatever. After all the years, you think that somebody will come to you and say, Lord, what happened to you? You remember that what happened to you? How are you doing? What happened to that years? So you never had a word to tell me. Not a word up to this day. Not a word. And so I think that's the most painful part of it. That they never had no remorse for it. In fact, my sister told me, I remember the rest of my life when it happened. She was right. In fact, what is even worse is that they take no responsibility for it. They blame my husband. They said he didn't get into the doctor quick enough. So I was saying to myself, if somebody run you down in a car and hit you, and you aren't able to get to the hospital fast enough, the person hit you at fault or the person who couldn't carry you quickly to the hospital? So I'm sharing this with you to realize that I'm sure many of you have gone through things with family members, different people who you love, maybe husband, wife, children, parents, whatever. And I know it's not easy, but you have to come to the point. I'm not sharing this to you just for so. I'm sharing to you that you must come to the point where you have to forgive. In fact, a few years ago, I called my sister, one in England, one in the Caribbean, and I called my brother. And I apologize to them for giving them pain. And somebody else shared, say, you apologize for them for giving them pain, for disappointing them. Because remember coming to a small rural area where people have certain beliefs and stuff. And so I figure I hurt them by marrying somebody they didn't want to marry. So people I talk to say to me, Lord, something's wrong with you. You didn't like to do something evil or terrible. Yes, you did something they didn't want to marry to, but does that merit what they have done you? So it kind of shook me up when they told me so. I said, yes, you're right. So up to this day, they have never. I am the one who went to them because I realized forgiveness is not, the Bible says forgiveness is not for the person. Forgiveness is for you, the person that was hurt. Because remember what God said, if you don't forgive, he didn't say he had no condition on it. Well, he said if you don't forgive, he will not forgive you, and you shall not enter his kingdom. So I say, Lord, I do not want to have anyone stop me from being your kingdom. You suffered on the cross. I could never suffer like you. And that's what we must remember when we go through stuff. We could never. I got a scar in front of my head. Jesus was crucified and brutalized on the cross. So if you keep remembering that, and if I can remember it, then you realize, not trying to minimize it, but you realize it's nothing. Because I was reading that the Roman soldiers, when they tie that iron, they think that iron to like a belt. I read that that's what they used to do. The Roman Empire, every lash they gave a person, it takes a piece of the flesh. So I cannot even imagine what Jesus went through. he was only able to go through because he was with the Father, in connection with the Father. Because no human being could have gone through what God did without the power of God with him. Because remember, he came into humanity. He was God in the flesh, human flesh. So I'm sharing this is one of the, amazingly, of all my testimony experience I've gone through in difficult and dark times. This has really touched me more than anything else. And I really struggled with it until I came to the conclusion that I have to do the right thing. Not for them, it's for myself. That I'm grateful to I only found it a few months ago, about 2 months ago now, that they were there. I remember that somebody was there, but it was so shocking to me, I think. But I know I was in a home, and she's the one that told me who was there. And she said to me, I said, I'm grateful to you. She said she went and got me water to wash my eyes. She said, if I didn't give you water, you wouldn't be able to see. Because whatever the chemical is, I don't know what chemical up to this day. I can't tell you what the chemical is, but it went into my eyes. She said I had to run and get you water to wash out your eyes. So I said to her, I'm very grateful to you that you did that for me, because maybe I would have been more blind too. So God always put people in the right place at the right time to be there for you. So it's not easy to forgive. No, not easy to forgive, especially when you have a reminder of it all the time. If you don't have a reminder, maybe you could kind of get over it. But when you have a reminder every day, you go into the mirror, you go to brush your teeth, and that reminder is right there. It's not easy. But I was able to talk with them about it. And some people might say I'm stupid. They say, you shouldn't even talk. In fact, my brother told me, my younger brother said, I will never speak to my aunt again. He told me so. He said, I don't know what I'm doing. I will never speak to Aunt Annie again. But I went to England, to Trinidad years after, when my father died. Because I haven't gone back for years, but I went back when he died. To the funeral, and when I went to the funeral, I asked my brother to take me to see that aunt. And her name was Aunt Annie. He's called Aunt Annie. And when he took me, he was not pleased. He said to me, I don't know what's wrong with you. He said, if I were you, I'd never go to see her again or never forgive her. But I was able to go and visit her. She's dead now, however, but I was able to visit her. And so God knows why he tells us forgive, because forgiveness, as I said, is not for the person, it's for yourself. Because when you keep that in you, it destroys you. And I'm not saying I'm fully there yet, because I just heard this. It's like I know about the bird, I got it there, the damage years ago, but I didn't know that my sister was the one who intervened for me. That is new. I just found it 2 months ago. And brought me water. So I thank her to this day. I say, I thank you, because if it stayed and it keep burning my eyes, I might be able to see. Or it burn my head, so it could burn my eyes too. Eyes are even more sensitive. So I'm glad she told me, because people might think it's good to keep secrets and not to tell things, but it's not good. Because I always like her and I always get along good with her. But I didn't even know how much she intervened in my life. So I'm grateful for her for telling me. And she only told me because I was just talking about life and the past and different things and stuff like that. And she's in the US now, and she lives in Florida. We still talk very well for a long time. And I didn't know this too, because it's all good too, because she told me that she told my family, do not go after Dawn and them like that, because she will figure she has no way out, and you're just pushing her further away. She told them that, and they were very upset, and they told her off. They told her off and was very, very ignorant with her because she said that. So I didn't even know, she told me after 2 months ago. I said, really, that happened? You actually told them, so that somebody did tell them, that doesn't say they didn't have, nobody kind of shake them up a bit by telling them, telling them, giving them another way to see things. She said, yes, I told them that, and they were very upset with me. But in all this, the bottom line is, with all that, bottom line is that I'm here, went through that, went through illness, and I'm still here. So God had me here for a purpose, and I'm able to make a difference in other people's life. So when things happen to you in life, you could either be bitter and don't like nobody and hit back at people around you because you went through stuff, or you could take that hurt and you could make a difference in God's world. We all have choices, so I choose the latter, to make a difference. To make a difference in the life of other people. Yeah. And so yes, because I wrestle with it, I said, Lord, I forgive. Doesn't mean because I forgive I have to really hang around the individual. I wrestle that for a while, especially when they have not apologized or say, even when I did it and told them I'm sorry I hurt their heart, they never took that up and to say, Lord, you know what, we shouldn't do so they never did anything. And it's hard to do it, but it's also freeing. But I'm wrestling with it because I got this new information in the last 2 months, so it kind of bring back past memories. But it's all good because it shows you, even in that, how God was with me, no matter what. That's the big thing, that He was with me. And not, as I said, not only scarred in my head, I would have been blind too. I wouldn't be able to see, to even do a job, to get a job at Bell or anywhere else. Or even, who knows, or even have kids. So, in all the bad, good things come out of it. So you have to look at the good side of it. But I'll say something, I always battle with that, and I pray and ask God to, because I don't want to do anything to hurt God's heart, but I always wrestle with that. If I forgive someone, must I still hang around them? And I'm telling you, I really was wrestling with that. I forgive them if they call me, I should speak to them and everything. But I'm saying, does God want me to still associate with that person in a family? Why? Because they have not shown any change from those years. They haven't shown that no what should I say? No regret at all. So I wrestle with that. I'll be honest with you, even now I still wrestle with that. What should I do, Lord? Does forgiveness mean that I must still hang around them? Bring back memories, seeing that they have not really show a sorrow for what was done? Will He hold me accountable if I don't really deal with that person much? I still wrestle with that. I try to look for the scriptures to see what God says about that. He did say, love your enemies. Do good to them that despisefully use you. So, amazingly, that this lady, my older sister, she had a son who was sick. He's in Atlanta. And he was sick. He had diabetes, another complexity of diabetes. And she would call me all the time. Every day she would call me, and I would pray with her, and I would talk with her, encourage her, because I know it's hard for her only son. So she always said, my only son. And I would talk with her and stuff like that. And pray with her and encourage her, because I know she was going through a really dark time. And I must say why I wrestled with it too, is that sister was also the one who helped our family members. She was working, she went into nursing, and she's the one that used to help my family. My family had their own home, and my father built his own home, but She used to help us. She even sent me to school, because in the Caribbean at that time, we didn't get free education. You had to pay to go to high school. You only go elementary school, and then you had to pay to go to high school. So she helped me. So you could see why it's something I wrestle with. I'm looking at all the good that she did, and looking at this incident. So I still, to a certain extent, wrestle with it. I would talk to her, but I'm wondering, should I really continue a relationship in any long term? I mean, talking to us fine when this is between me. And I don't want to bring it up with her. I was thinking a couple of weeks ago, maybe I should just talk it over with her and kind of get it. But I would not go into detail, but in my dealings with her, I find that she never admits anything that she's done wrong. Even other people that have issues in the family with, she always thinks that she was right. So I was praying about it and agonizing about it. And then I believe that God is telling me, leave it alone. Because it's just going to cause friction and trouble your soul, trouble her soul, and then the only person who will win is the devil. I was going to bring it up and kind of clear the air and just talk it over with her, but I realized I can't do that. So, after praying and meditating, God tells me maybe I should next time, but right now, where I think that God is speaking to me, He's telling me, leave it alone, leave it alone. There's nothing to be gained by that. You already spoke to her, you already told her sorry for but how she hurt. You hurt them, and then just leave it alone. Yeah. I want to share another journey in my life. It's hard to discuss it, but I cannot just sugarcoat it and just tell the parts I want to tell, because it wouldn't be a true testimony and I would dishonor God. I have to be honest. Even though people might be offended and family members might be hurt, I have to tell the testimony. That even if they ever get to see it, they will reflect on what their choice, the things they have done. And maybe that in the end might save them in the kingdom. If it would save them, it's worth, the testimony is worth it. When I was in the Caribbean island of Trinidad, as I told you at the age of 19, what happened to me. And I believe my mind has covered some of it up temporarily to protect me from the pain. But as I start giving this testimony, it's healing for me too. I don't want to get too much about myself, but it's healing for me too, because it brings back stuff that I try to suppress. And during that time there, my oldest sister and my two brothers and my mother, I don't know who else was in the other car, because I wasn't able to see, because they were chasing us down. We were in the car, myself and my husband was in the car, Toby was in the car. And they were chasing us down. I just see these people come after us and running us down. So we keep driving. It's like there's a group they call that chase the people down. Can't think of the name right now. That I think the Queen Diana in England. I remember she was chased down by some group of people who were running her down, I don't know, to keep track of what she did, because she's royal family. But I was just a ordinary human being that they were chasing. And again, and this testimony is really a blessing, because again, it shows God intervention. Sometimes God intervenes in our life and we don't remember, because life problems and situation comes up and then we kind of forget again. So this testimony is very powerful for me too, and life-changing, more than I even thought. Because while they were running us down with the car, trying to catch up with us, I don't know what they want to do. What happened is that a car ran into them, and apparently we kept going because they ran us down. We wanted to escape the situation. And it's my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, my oldest brother's wife, who was with them in the car. I didn't know who was all in the car. Two cars were behind, who were in the different cars. She told me that not recently. It was amazing to me. And it was not easy when she told me that. She lives in the US in Florida now. And she told me that she put the pieces together. She told me she was in the car. And actually, she had a little baby. I know her baby. She's a big woman now. She said she was in the car. And she said the car, the guests were running around, the car smashed into them, this big vehicle. And it almost killed her baby and her in the car, killed them in the car. So she said to me, Lorna, it's a miracle that my daughter's life. She only had one daughter. She tried to have other kids, but she always lose all her other children. So this is the only child that survived. And God knew, again, why he intervened. Because she is the only one daughter she had. All the daughters after her, she lose them. So you could see even God hand in that he saved her life, she told me. And I'm still amazed when she told me, because I never knew that part of it. She never told that she didn't want to talk about these things, something they didn't want to talk about. So again, God intervened again into that situation. Another incident to show you how my family was so determined. They're supposed to be Christians. They say they're Christians, and they're supposed to be an example to a younger daughter. I was the last child. So they're supposed, according to what God would them, to be an example to the younger ones. And my sister, her husband, and I don't know who else went, but they went to the job where he was working. He was a teacher. And they went there and talked to the inspector, whoever there, to try to get him to lose his job, because they wouldn't go for no other reason, to get him to lose his job, to get him fired. So they went to get him fired. And he told me what happened. They came there and what went on and all this stuff that went on where he was in the school. And as I was saying, we went to the school to get him to lose his job, to complain on him so they could get him to lose his job. And that is the time that we left, because we realized that we can't stay there in the country, Trinidad, because they're coming after his job, which means you have no income. And so we realized that we can't stay. That's why I went to the US as a visitor, just to escape and get away from everything, get away from them so they can't, come after us anymore. And it's amazing and a lesson to everyone that what they were trying to achieve, they do the opposite. They went about it the wrong, because, as I said, they were motivated. My sister, I realized, was interested in this man because he is more her age than my age. He was he was much older than me. So that motivated her. She wasn't motivated by love for her younger sister, because if she did, she would try her best to talk with me, show me love, and let me know. Because, as I said before, I was 19, very naive, grew up in a home that we wasn't allowed to go play with people, with other children. We wasn't allowed to go to places. It's just church, school, and activities we had I forget the name of it right now, in church, Pathfinders. So that's my life. School, church, chores at home, and maybe Pathfinders, and yes, I was in the choir in the church. But this was all church activities, no social life. So you never get to really know people. So that's my situation. So when somebody tell you they love you, especially a person that educated and show the love for you, of course you would be attracted to it. And I realize in hindsight now why I was attracted. You see, times also bring more understanding. My mother was close to my brother. I have two sisters, one 14 and 12 years apart. So we had a big gap between and then you had two sisters, sorry. You had my brother, and then you had a big gap between the three first ones, and my brother and I was closer in age, because it was my brother and then myself. We were about 3 years difference. And so what happened, I'm still amazed at it, that you're saying you're a Christian, you have a young sister who never exposed anybody, who never had nobody that to date, to say she know what it is to get involved with somebody, how to feel, and I had these feelings and don't understand it. Didn't understand what's going on in me, what's going on in these feelings I had. Maybe they might call it, I don't have a name to call people, infatuation, all that kind of thing, but I didn't know. So I need somebody to at least talk to me and explain to me, this happened when you're young, you have these emotions, but whatever. I never had that. Never that. And then my mother wasn't really, I didn't take it on because this was just life and you just go along with your life. Because no boys were favored. My brothers could do what they want, go around, run around and everything. But me, a girl, I was supposed to live a certain way. In a lot of cultures that is, so it's nothing really different. Most cultures are that way anyway. But I realized my mother, understanding it now, I realized my mother impacted me a lot because she didn't really love me. So when somebody else tells me, it's hard for me to accept that, but I have to accept it. At this age, I can't be pretending anymore. And so when somebody tells you they love you, you will fall for that love. You will. That's just the way it is. I never understood, and I blame myself all the time, all my life for these years. I didn't understand why. I was wondering why. But then I realized my mother, she was always close to my brother, the one just before me, 3 years different. He used to fix her sewing machine for her, and they would sit down and talk and everything. But me, no. I was different. I had to do things around the house and make bread and blah, blah, which is nothing wrong. But I'm saying, I could do it, but she showed love, preference to boys. And I find even my sister now, she showed preference to the men in the family. Even after all these years. And when I spoke to her one time about Bertie and so forth, and our life and childhood thing, she said, but see, Bertie is like, I'm like a mother to Bertie. I'm like a mother to Bertie. He was my little brother. So even in that, she still showed how they are. Even at this age, he's dead now. Both of my brothers are dead now. One died, I think, at 80, one died at 60 something. And so I realized I was right. My mother and her was very close. So I was sort of left out. My father, thank God, he was a caring person and we had a good relationship. But then I tell you that he was not really a strong man. He let my mother run things, and when my sister grew up, both of them were team. They were a team. My mother and my sister, older sister, were like a team. They were very, very close up to the end of her life. Very, very close. So, but I thank God that at least I had a father who cared for me and who I had some relationship with. And so it's just a sort of warning to others that how you can impact a family's life for all during their life. But thank God, God made a difference. Because I come to know Him, He has brought healing in my life. I'm not completely there, no, but I'm on the journey. And so I ask myself, I look at myself and I ask myself, how come no compassion was shown to me? Even years after, my two brothers moved to Canada. No, one of my brothers, the one just before me, moved to Canada, and he moved to the US. That's where he died, was in the US. Another one went to the US from the Caribbean. And I asked myself, but I tried to kind of brush it apart because nobody wanted to accept that their family didn't really love them, except my dad. And my brothers loved me in the best they can. They were siblings. They never tried to hurt me. But again, they were influenced by my oldest sister and their mother. And they just went along as men, they just went along with it. So we have to be careful to not to go along with stuff. Because who knows? I don't know. But if they had stood, my brothers, and say, Mom and sister, you're all doing wrong, and really stood, maybe they might have pulled away. I don't know. I'm just saying maybe. And it's a lesson to us today that we have to be able to stand, especially in the times that we're living in, not go along with anything we see, because it might have changed life. But then I would from that. But maybe I wouldn't have a testimony to tell you. So God knows. But as I said to you, they were living on God's life. They were woman and woman and woman, even for years. Not to say one woman, they were woman and woman and woman. They were even married and having women while they were married. Imagine that. They are married and they grew up in the faith and they were having faith with women in their marriage. And my sister's aware of it more than me because she was down in the Caribbean there with them. I was in America, as I said, I left America when I was 20, came to the US. So she knows. And up to this day, my sister, I talked to her a couple of weeks ago, and she's defending my brother's belief. She ain't saying to me, you know what? We were talking something with the family and how he treats his wife and things and having these affairs, committing adultery. She's never said, you know what? My brother shouldn't do it. In fact, she is supporting them. They're dead and gone. And she's still supporting them up to now. At her age. She's 90 years old now. And she's not saying, well, when you're young, you didn't know better and stuff. So she gets older, expecting, okay, she should know better. She's actually defending them. So it makes me think, I really was like an outcast. Because as a young girl, I didn't think I committed murder. I stole property from the family. I abused them somehow, sexually abused them physically. And they have justification to come after me, such vengeance. I did none of those things. And so I asked myself, how you could understand your brothers who doing these things up to a big old age, because they're not little people, they're up to the age 60s they were doing it, up to the 70. God knows if they stop it, I don't know at that age. But yet, a young teenager. So I could only say that they didn't love me, my mother and my sister don't love me, unless maybe you who are listening could think another reason. Well, it's jealousy too. As I said to my sister, jealous because she had liked him and he was more her age and he was bright and a teacher and whatever, and you know back in the Caribbean, then they have a high value in education. Nothing wrong in that. So I know she's jealous. She expressed it even lately, years after, and so that motivates her. But I believe that my brothers didn't know. Well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say my brothers didn't know. Maybe they didn't know it at the time it happened. But years after, many years after, my brother came to Canada. And he told me two things that support that what I'm telling you is right. He said, why my mother used to treat you so? So I had taught as a kid, but I never took it on much, I just go along doing it. As a kid, you just do what you have to do. But when he brought it up and he came to Canada as a grown man, he said, why my mother treat you different? He asked me that. I didn't answer. I said, I don't know. Then also he told me, he's the one, and I thank him for that. Then because it made me see things more clearer. Then he also told me, he said, your sister is after you. And he told me why. Because of her interest in the man I got married to. So it was not motivated by godliness or love for your sister, you want to protect her or whatever. I don't know, that might be a little part of it, I don't know. But when we let jealousy motivate us, we cannot think straight. And I believe that's what happened. So two things to learn from here. Jealousy should have nothing to do if you're trying to do best for somebody and you say you're a believer. There should be other motives you have in mind. Also, it teaches also that family members have a responsibility. When you see somebody doing anything and hurting a family member, stand up. Stand up and tell them they're wrong. They could continue and they could ignore you. That's okay. But between you and God, you know you told them, and the blood will be on their head. And the same things apply to the church. When we see things going wrong in our churches as believers, we must speak up. Because we could cause, me is only a temporary injury, my head, and also emotional trauma. But for others in the faith, people in the faith, it will cause them eternal life. Because by going along with stuff and not standing up, we could cause that person to be lost. And that's a permanent, it's not a temporary thing. It's the permanent destruction. So these are lessons that I have learned, and I hope that you can learn that too. And I'll be honest with you, it's not easy for me to accept it. Because for years, I was just blaming myself. That's how I am. I like to always blame myself. And even now, I'm always going overboard to help people. I don't do to help people. Even the people who are not nice to me and do me harm, I still try to help them. So, I don't know, I believe that my childhood, my lack of love for my mother, and the fact that my father did not stand up as a man in a priesthood in his family has really affected me. And so hopefully anyone listening to this this video and may learn something to help their family and to prevent, trauma and prevent these things that happen to me in their lives. It will not be in vain. I know it will not be in vain. So yes, it's difficult for me because years after, I went and I called my sister. The same sister, the older sister, I called my sister in England. She's in England, second sister. She wasn't around for most of these times. She only visited the Caribbean, but she wasn't there as a very integral part of this man and woman hunt, I should say. But she was contact with them and would tell her what's going on and everything like that, so she knew what's going on. So what happened is that you have to come to the point where you have to forgive. So I called, they never told me, what happened to you. Well, I don't think that they cared because they show by their actions. Even when I went and I called her, and I called my sister in England, and I called my brother in Florida, and I told them, if I bring them any pain, forgive me. They never said anything to me. If somebody got to me, I said, no, you know what? I'm sorry for my part in it too. We didn't mean to hunt you down, and we didn't mean to physically harm you like that. We just get carried away. Whatever, some excuse they want to make, but nothing. No response. And then what came back to me is the fact that she told me that after they injured my head, my auntie who poured this liquid, I don't know up to this day what is this chemical in my head, and the whole front of my head here is bald because when they took me to the hospital, they took off the front layer and the second layer. So it cannot ever go back here because they took out the first layer. They took out the first layer, I was told it will go back, but they took out the two layers. People in that field, in medical field, will understand. So it could never go back. And she told me, even after you do, you do something, then you say, boy, I get acting emotion or jealousy. She told me that the rest of my life, I remember it. So to me, there is no remorse. It's just a vengeance and a hate. And I have to come to terms to that at this stage in my life. I cannot pretend anymore. Because pretending is just going to give me more pain. So I have to accept it, that's what happened. When you look at Joseph's brother sold him into slavery. His brother, they didn't care what he would go through. And we don't know, the Bible won't go into detail what Joseph went through. They're not going to tell us, but I'm sure human beings are evil and they're still evil. That when they took him into captivity, we don't know what they did to Joseph, okay? So that makes me know that the person could be a family, doesn't mean that they love you. They could harm you, as I'm a witness, just like anybody. In fact, hurtful things that people won't do to you, they'll do to you. But the good news is that is forgiveness. God forgive us. So he said if we don't forgive others, he will not forgive us. And this is a strong statement. He said we will not. He didn't say you may not enter his kingdom, He said, if you don't forgive others, he will not forgive us. And we shall not, is a firm word, we shall not enter his kingdom. And so sometimes when I used to get discouraged, I would go back to that, back to that verse. Because when you go to somebody to confess that harm you like that emotionally and physically, and then they don't respond, it does bother you. It will hurt you if you're a human being. It will hurt you that you expect them to reciprocate some care or show some sorry or some regret for what has been done. There is none. But like I said, I did talk to her, and I had a relationship with her. And in fact, so much so that a few months ago, it's a year and a half ago, yes, when her son was sick, very sickly, in Atlanta, she called me every day. I'm telling you, every day. And I would talk with her, pray with her, and she said this, I'm such a blessing to her, and she would tell me at the time, but that's only at the time. And I took care of the incident that when I was in the hospital, I have a daughter who was very sickly. She had to have an emergency surgery. She has a lot of challenges in life too. But this time she had an emergency surgery. She had COVID and she almost died with the COVID. During COVID that people could relate to online. She had COVID and she almost died of COVID. And then after that she had a problem with her system, a backup where she could not pass faces out of her system, and they found out there was a blockage there in her system, and that was preventing her from things. She turned gray. When they took her to the ambulance in the hospital, they would tell me, that the nurses and people told me that she was actually, her face was gray. That's to tell you how. So even that again, in the worst time, God intervened. He intervened so much, and it's too much to even talk about. It's too much. He intervened. He intervened during her COVID. He intervened in the surgery. And when I was in the surgery room, the doctor didn't know if they were able to do the surgery because she has some physical disability, mental challenges. So they wasn't too sure whether she would cooperate with them doing the surgery. Not even the surgery, to do the test. They had a lot of tests to do. CT scan, MRI, and to get her to cooperate because she don't understand because of her disability. She don't understand what they're doing to her. The people that they're hurting her because they put in all this machine because of her learning disability. So even over that time, the doctor was talking, the doctor was talking to me, telling me what they have to do, but they don't know how it will work, and she might have to wear a bag the rest of her life to pass urine and different things. They don't know. So I just tell you how it was. It was a stressful time for me. I have to be honest with you. My son and I was there in the hospital, my daughter and the other daughter. And even during that time, she was calling me because her son was not well. And she would call me. And I remember one day in Pacific, I was waiting for the doctor to come to tell me how the test results went and what they're going to do and how they're going to get somebody to have the surgery and what's going to happen. And she called me, and maybe I shouldn't have answered, but that's how I am. I answer because I figure she needs me. And so I answered her, and I was having the phone. I remember having the phone in my hand and walking through the hall with the hospital to go to see the doctor, and at the same time trying to talk with her and stuff. And I'm telling you that to let you know that sometimes you can go overboard for family members and friends and don't expect them. I think what happened to me, I disappointed because I was expecting more. We have to know not to expect anything from anyone, and to know that Jesus was mistreated and neglected and abused by people who was family. They hated him, his own family hated him. His own family, I should say earthly family, his earthly family hated him. And we see how it ended up. He was crucified. And he did nothing. All he did was come to state that it was lost. That's all he did. Come to save us so we don't have to live in this wicked, sinful world for eternity without any reprieve. Could you imagine living in this sinful world, getting worse and worse and no way out? All the terrible things that happen to people in the world and nothing changing? That's all he came to do. And look how they treated him. All he did was healed, love, and cared for people. So that is what keep me going, because it wasn't that. I don't think, if I didn't know God, I would not be able to make it. I know I wouldn't, because I would be really broken up all the time. But every time I feel a certain way, I remember what Jesus went through on the cross, what he went through before the cross and what he went through the cross. That no tongue could express what Jesus went on the cross, happened on the cross. As we were told, the Roman soldiers would take the iron, apparently it's iron, and they would make it into like a switch, a whip, and they would twine it around, roll it around, however they do to make it, and they would hit you on it. And when that's the Roman kingdom, where the papacy has come out of now, part of that, and they would hit him in it, and every lash will take out a piece of his flesh. None of us could go through that. We would die with the one whip, dead. Our human is dead. But Jesus bore that all for us. So I'm saying that to let us know that we cannot be better than Jesus. We deserve death for our sin. We are sinners every day, and we deserve death. And Jesus, who deserved nothing but our love and our praise, because he's the creator, he suffered. So that is something for us to remember. I know I have challenges sometimes to keep remembering myself when I feel in a certain way, because I'm not telling you I'm there yet. No, I've been lying to you. I'm not lying, because the God in heaven is hearing me. So yes, you might feel discouraged at times, you might feel down and perplexed, but don't stay there. Just remember what Jesus went through, and more than that, not all that he went through, that he loves you. And he said in his word, when father and mother neglect you, Jesus said, I will never neglect you. That's something to remember. He will never, because he know fathers and mother will give up on us and will hurt us and neglect us. He said he wouldn't go. He said he's closer than a friend. So why would we want anybody else when we have Jesus as our friend? A friend that will never fail you. A friend that you go to anytime you feel down. And you're not going to tell other people what to tell you. Any secret that you want to share Jesus, it stays with Jesus. Why would any one of us want to give up that relationship and that love for anything in this world? Nothing in this world, I don't care what it is. Money, position, family is worth of giving up Jesus for. I don't want to cry. I want to cry, but I wouldn't cry right now. I'll be strong. So remember that. And I know I've been looking for love in the wrong places. And I realize I just have to come to the point where you have to accept it. And that's the way it is. And as I'm talking to now, I hope I'm not talking too much. I met a friend here, I haven't seen her for years and years since I was a child. And she helped me, because when people talk to you who knew you then, they kind of let you sometimes you don't know yourself too much. And she said to me, Lorna, I remember you very well. She said you're a person that you are very quiet. And she said you could be friendly with people. But you're also a person that likes to be quiet by yourself. And she also told me something I didn't know. It's good, as a childhood friend I might never see again. I saw after years and years and years. Somebody gave her my number, said I was in Canada, and she called me. She's in the US. Diane. I won't call her last name in case I want to expose her, but her name is Diane. And she said to me, I always remember you bending down your head. I said, yes, Diane, Joanne? She said, yes. Diane? I said, yes, Diane? She said, yes. She said you always bend down your head because you didn't like your height. She said you did not like your height. Because at that time, I'm not tall now, but at that time in my life, I think it was 14 or so, 15, I was taller than the other friends in the church. I was taller than them at the time. They passed me after. So I remember when she told me, so I said, no, Di, you're right. She said you used to be bending down, like you want to get yourself smaller instead of holding up yourself. And I remember too, even when I came to kind of my 20s, I remember someone in the workplace, the manager was telling me, why are you bending down like that? She said, hold up your head. You should be proud of yourself and your height. Just keep your head up. So I realized in this, going through this testimony, I realized that I had a feeling I'm not valued. I realized I'm not loved. And that impacts your life. And I think that had a lot of bearing on the choices I made. Because when someone shows you love, and you think that they truly love you, you will tend to go that route because you're missing it. You didn't have it, you're missing it. And I know that if my family ever see it, I'm not going to give it to them, but if they ever see it, they will say, no, that did not happen, that didn't happen. But that's from their perspective. I'm talking about from my perspective, and let God be the judge. So finally, that we have to forgive, and I believe I've forgiven because I'm able to, as I say, be there for my sister when she needs me in the darkest hour with her son's sickness. And she would call me and talk to me 3 and 4 hours, because right now she retired years ago and she's in Atlanta with her family, and so she has nothing really much to do, so she calls me. Even though I have a lot going on and a lot of stuff in my family, I would take the time and talk to her for, sometimes 3-4 hours. I say, what, all those hours, and I have so much thing going on. But I wrestle, I'll be honest with you, because I know you want honesty, and God like honesty. I have wrestled for a while with this situation. And I wondered if I'm doing wrong, if I wouldn't have much with my sister. If she calls me, talk to her, but do not spend these long hours with her. Because what happens, you forgive, but then forgiveness doesn't mean you must take abuse. And forgive until the person does not show no remorse and continue down that same road. And so I wrestle, to be honest with you. My children tell me, Mom, don't bother with her, just think so. But I always wrestle with that. Lord, am I doing the right thing? Is that what you want me to do? Is that real true forgiveness? I wrestled that for a while. But the last last couple of weeks, maybe about 6 weeks, I've come to the conclusion, reading God's word and asking to speak to let me know what he thinks, because you have to see God. You can't just think you know what the answer is. You have to see him. I believe he's telling me you could forgive, but if someone is a stumbling block in your life, if that some person has done all these things and instigate all these things, and even now after so many years, that person is not any different, because they're not really helping in your Christian path. They do not talk to you. When my sister called me, she has never called me, and I'm honest, God is my witness. She said, let me pray with you, my sister. My sister, what's going with you with your daughter? Because she had a daughter disability and all that. And different issues every family have things that come up with them, sickness or job loss or COVID or whatever. And marital issues, people have issues. She's never asked me, she never called me and said, I want to pray with you. And what's going on with your family? What's going on with sons? What's going on with your son? What's going on with your daughter? And then talk about it. It's always about herself and her family in the Caribbean. And she'll ask me to pray for them and ask me, advice and stuff. But never, ever talk to me about it. So I realize nothing has changed. So she's taken from me, not giving me back, not being an encouragement to me in my Christian walk. And I need help in my Christian walk. I've gone through a lot more than I'm even sharing now. So I need encouragement, and I realize from my own Christian journey, and to not let anyone steal my crown and stand in the way of me seeing my Jesus, I have to do something different. So I've come to the conclusion through a lot of agonizing nights, sleepless nights, because I lying in the bed and thinking about all these things. I've come to the conclusion that yes, if she calls me, I will talk with her, but I must make it brief. I mustn't be long forward because it's of nothing of value. And as a believer, she said she should be picking up, talking about the Bible, talking about what happened in the world, and how America and its connection with Bible prophecy, the second beast in Revelation, what's happening in the world and how the coming of Christ is soon, and we must get ourselves ready for him and make sure we take the true angel's message and make sure we live a life that others or neighbors or friends can see Christ in us. Nothing like that. It's going to do with vain, materialistic stuff. So it's a hard decision, and I guess you're in the middle of my decision making this testimony, that I realize I have to do things differently. And I think what was the real icing on the cake is a few weeks ago, there was a situation with a family member where they accused her of something to me. And I figured I would talk to her because I didn't want to be thinking about this person in a negative with my first cousin. I grew up with her, so I didn't want to think with her in a negative way. And when they told me what she did, I said, that doesn't sound like my cousin. And instead of just keeping it and ruminating in my mind and thinking negatively of her, I decided to call and tell her, ask her. But then I said, no, I'm not going to call and ask her nothing. I don't want to stir anything up. But then when she called me a couple of weeks after, I just asked her about this incident. And she said, no, Lord, it didn't happen. It happened a complete different way. Again, my sister was involved in it, lying. And so what happened, she said to me, I said to her, I'm sorry I told you anything. But I'm like that. I do not love people to keep secrets. If something happened, let us talk about it, let us put it in the open, and let us deal with it. Because when you tell me what to her now, I'm thinking that she did this terrible deed, and that's very dangerous, and God doesn't like that. That's why he don't like gossiping, he said. Because now I'm thinking with her differently. So I'm glad that I spoke to her and found out what really happened, and also the fact that when I spoke to her about it, because she called and she's come pretty much again, when I talked to her about it, I told her I talked to Stephanie and what Stephanie said. And I tried to say to her, you know what? It's both sides. I try to even compromise. I say, you know what? Maybe Stephanie, my cousin, had it wrong. Maybe she sees it in a different way. Even that, she said, no. All the fault is on her. I said to her, all the fault, so you don't think you have some responsibility or somewhere maybe you didn't understand what's going on and she didn't understand what you wanted to do for you? No. She was just adamant in it. I'm right and my daughter is right and she is wrong. No bit of any taking any responsibility or even saying, you know what, I'm a little imperfect here, maybe I'm wrong. So all that made me realize that I have to make a decision. There's no way that we could really continue the way we're going because it's very destructive. And also, even our beliefs are different. I stand on the word of God and what the Bible says, I'm not compromising. If the Bible said you're not supposed to marry unless your wife or your husband died or they commit adultery, thus said the Lord. That's me. There's no if and buts and all kind of reason and all kind of stuff. We discussed some stuff like that and she does not agree. She still believes that, you know, you could bypass these things. And in other conversations too we're having, I realize she's a compromiser. She's saying that she's a believer, but she's willing to compromise according to the situation and more importantly, according to the person involved. Like I said, my brothers and others, her brothers. She stands for them. And by what God said, no matter. So I realized That's just a compromising behavior. So when I put it all together, I ask myself, what benefit is she to me in my Christian walk? And especially seeing the times that we are living in. And beside the time we're living in, any one of us could die. Could die in an accident. You could go to bed and get one of the people here who I know just died. There's a pastor here who was preaching on Saturday, and then Sunday morning the audience told him he's dead. So I have to take life seriously. We have to take life seriously. We are not guaranteed the rest of today. I'm not guaranteed the rest of this day. I'm not even guaranteed that I can give you the rest of my testimony. It's no guarantee. I just have right now. We just have right this minute. Not a minute thing could change. So I realized that I have to protect myself and protect the gift that God has given me, that He will give me eternal life. And so I'm determined to let nothing and no one, as I said before, stand in the way. Not at this time in my life. God has done too much for me, and I mentioned the amount of things that God stepped in, even when I wasn't following Him, and delivered me when I was sick. I wasn't following God when I was sick. Yes, I wasn't doing certain things that I learned as a child, certain things I don't do and all that, but I wasn't really following Him. And He still delivered me. So no, I cannot disappoint Jesus. I cannot disappoint Him. No, I cannot. No, I cannot. I know maybe I'm rambling on, but I cannot. So yes, I hope that this testimony will help you to know that you could forgive, but you don't have to continue with any individual, no matter who they are, who is going to affect your spiritual world, your spiritual life, or be a hindrance or a barrier on your journey to the kingdom. So I hope that this testimony will encourage you and let you know that there's no situation, nothing that you go on in life now, that God cannot deliver you from. And also for those who feel not loved by family members, they marry someone and the husband or the wife don't seem to love them anymore. Whatever the case is, church members don't love you, people don't love you, workplace, you have a situation on your workplace where people treat you a certain way, even though you try to reach out to them and do right, they do not act back the same way to you. Just remember that this will all come to an end, and don't let it discourage you. And know that Jesus' love is as wide as the ocean and as deep as the deepest sea. There's no way to describe the love of God. So realize what never happened. Don't search for love with family. Don't search for love with mates. And if you get the love, that's good. We need a human touch. Because sometimes it's very lonely for me because I live alone now by myself. I'm not alone. Jesus is always with me, but I'm talking about the human touch. Because my son and his wife have a place in the country. My other daughter's living in a different area. So I just wanted to encourage you today that remember God is with you all the time, and you don't have to be seeking for love in all kind of places. Seeking for love in a club, seeking for love in drugs, in liquor, in marijuana, in whatever drugs, partying, whatever. That will never fulfill you. I'm here to tell you that. I've lived long enough. That will never give you true love. It will just be a temporary makeshift thing that will help you to kind of buffer the pain that you're feeling, but it will not be lasting. While with Jesus, it's lasting. As a woman at the well, He told her, drink from this water and you'll never be thirsty again. So when you drink from the well of Jesus, you don't have no need, will never be thirsty, you have no need for all these things that you're looking for to satisfy you. because it's a permanent satisfaction, not a temporary thing where you have to go back again to get the high and go back again and go back. No. Permanent fix. A permanent fix. Well, yeah, it's a pun on the word, a permanent fix. So yes, so thank you for listening to this testimony, and I hope that by God's grace that I will reach just one person. If one person somewhere in this world, this earth, some country, somebody somewhere, I could reach them and give them encouragement for today and for eternity. I believe my testimony was worth it.
Thanks for joining us today. I do hope that you received blessings from this segment of Friday Testimony. Please join us next week as we deliver another compelling testimony from one of our guests and viewers. God bless.